Well, it's a very powerful day for Wasserman, Harlem Eubank, multi-fight deal. Feels like you never really left the place, Harlem. Straight in, and you know where home is, right?
Yeah, I've got a great relationship with the guys at Wasserman, Kalle, Nissa. I've got a great relationship with them, and feels like family here. So they've got a great plan in place for me going forward, and we're going to be targeting big fights, and it's a very exciting time.
Kalle, when you launched the Wasserman kind of link up with yourself and your brother Nissa, Harlem was one of the originals. Harlem is one of the fighters you've put a lot of time, a lot of effort in. So that being said, how pleased for you to get another multi-fight deal on and really kick on with his career?
Listen, absolutely over the moon with that part. That goes without saying. I'll come to that in a minute. But it's quite interesting. I look back at when we did the Wasserman deal, Team Sauerland became Wasserman Boxing at that time. I looked at a list, and it was a list of 6 or 8 names. I was on the plane back from Dublin yesterday and looked at the names, and Harlem was on the original 6. So it's even more exciting when in boxing something works. It doesn't always work, people, right? There was some names on that list where I'm not going to name them shame, but there was some that really didn't work, and unfortunately, that's part of boxing. That's the tough side of the sport. But the nice side of the sport is when something really works, and I think where we've come together as a team with Harlem and Charlie, boxing is a day in, day out sport for the athlete. So for that to be repaid in terms of not just financially, but in terms of growing your name, your ranking, your marketability, you name it. It goes without saying that Harlem's born with a massive, iconic British name. The Eubank name in British boxing is synonymous with each other. But Harlem also knows hard work, and you won't find a harder working fighter out there. That is really the biggest plaudit I can give him, because he's always ready. He's always prepared to do what needs to be done. He's improved fight to fight. I'm rambling now, aren't I? But it's been such a pleasure, and to continue that now to when it really gets interesting, right? When it really gets interesting, the Conor Benns, the Adam Azims, the Dalton Smiths on a domestic level, the acceleration through the world rankings, turning into a world champ. Those are the things that come now. So this is like the next chapter. So that's, and I'm sure Harlem's had lots of flirts from other people in the industry. That's normal. That's what it is. That's business. And I'm just delighted that we can keep this family together for the long term. And boy, oh boy, are we going to come up with some big nights for British boxing.
Harlem, I just want to ask you about your development as a fighter, because I remember seeing you, I think you might have been 2-3-0. It was at York Hall, very small hall show, if you want to put it like that. And then seeing your performance that night, 6, 7, 8 years ago, to Timo Schwarzkopf, it's like a completely new fighter. I've just been speaking to Jamie Conlon, and he says, great performance, but there's still so many more levels to unlock with you.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like I was always going to develop. I just needed the time and patience to develop into the fighter I am now, and and continue to make my mark in the sport. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. My performance last time out against Timo, who's obviously been in with world-class opposition, and to put in a statement like that, I've shown where I belong in the sport, and we're going to continue with Wasserman now. They have a great plan in place, and we're going to continue to build towards them world title opportunities. It's an exciting division over here domestically as well as in the States. In Riyadh, there's huge fights to be made, and we're here for all of them.
Just to confirm, because it weren't even a year ago that we was here kind of announcing your partnership with Chris Eubank Senior. It's now Jamie Conlon on board and he'll be guiding your career going forward.
Yeah, Jamie was always in the background, you know, seeing him, my uncle, he's always been involved in my career, you know, be it advice or sitting next to me. So he's always had a part to play, and no doubt he will continue to play a role in my career as well. And Jamie, he's been involved in my career, and he's going to be taking more of a front seat with the guidance of it. But we're excited to embark on this next phase going into big fights now.
I've got to ask you about the Azim fight. You obviously got in the ring with him at the O2, faced off. Every British boxing fan was excited to see that fight. So from your point of view, what happened between that fight looking like it was happening, facing off, to the point where you're probably not going to fight him next? Not ruling that fight out forever, but it's probably not going to be your next fight.
Yeah, well, we signed, signed a fight for June 15th, and we pulled out with an injury, and the fight wasn't rescheduled. They threw dates to us, and nothing materialized. So, I'm not here to wait around for other fighters. I'm here to continue to put in big performances, and run towards them big fights that will put me into a world title challenging position. So that's my focus. It's full focus on myself, and not waiting around for other people to get their stuff right in order. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. It's a fight that I've prepared for 3 times over, 3 training camps. Energy, time, and money wasted. So it's time to put that right now and get back to doing what I do best. Giving the fans exciting fights and pushing towards them big nights.
Kalle, can the Conor Benn fight happen?
I think that, when you've got a Eubank and a Benn or a Eubank, and it's, the weights obviously much easier to make than certain other fights I've tried to make in the past. I think it's a given. The question is when and how. I think the Azim fight will happen. I think the Dalton Smith fight can happen as well. They're all fantastic characters, athletes, whatever. I think that what I said to Harlem as well was a learning curve from this is Harlem's born with a name, as I said before, but at the same time, Harlem has had the fortune of boxing on free-to-air television for several fights on the undercard, their chief support, their main event. His last couple have done over 2 million views. Right? Now, I'm not going to bore you with stats here, but I would guess that that's probably around 50 times more than the other names I've just mentioned. Maybe Conor Benn's obviously had some big nights, but so. And I'm not going to play the arrogant, but we've got to be the A side, we can toss a coin for certain things. That's sort of fine. But at the same time, Harlem has to follow his path and the path that's right for him, and not sort of, he'll come in to fight some guy on these terms. And no. Let's sit down. Let's do it properly. A proper deal around any of those fights. The Azim fight, can happen, but it's got to be dealt with in a proper way. That is a properly big fight if promoted correctly. It's not part of a co-feature to a big event over here. Okay, you always got to be careful because the Riyadh season throws up some massive cards that you can't even call them undercards. So I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but at the same time, if you're doing it in the UK, then it's a standalone. It's a massive night of boxing. You name me a bigger fight this year. You could talk Wardley Clark, big domestic heavyweight fight, absolutely. But this has now got a right storyline that's come from it, and that's what boxing is for. So that's a big, big night for British boxing. A Conor Benn fight. Yeah, I mean, I think they're sorting their stuff out at the moment with the board. But yeah, that's certainly a mouth-watering fight. I think, but let's chalk them up when they've been made.
Last question for both of you. Ideal 12 months. We're sitting here this time next year. Where is Harlem Eubank going to be? Start with you. I'll start.
I don't know if they're going to fight these people. Well, it's very simple, right? We're going to kick off with Azim, then we're going to do Dalton Smith, and then we're going to do Conor Benn at Wembley Stadium next summer.
If only.
Don't you worry about that. That's what we're going to do, right? All sorted. Over to you, Harlem.
Harlem, final word with you, mate.
Sounds good to me. That's why we're here. That's why we pick Wasserman. They've got the plan. That's what we like to hear.